Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Theodore Jackson, and today I'm bringing a little video PSA to our community. And my goal is to bring awareness to the reactions of new imperialism and focus on indigenous perspective and why it matters. Well, we all know about the horrors of slavery and colonization during the age of new imperialism, but not much has been said about courageous revolts of those who were opposed in Africa. Their acts for justice impacted slavery and colonization for centuries to come. European countries who were hungry for economic, social, and political gain fought over control for Asia and Africa in the hopes to expand their empire, gain new resources, and spread their religious and cultural ideas to foreign tribes. After the Treaty of Berlin was created in 1885, the scramble for Africa began. Germany took control of four regions in Africa using brutal and inhumane methods, such as slavery and high taxation to colonize and domesticate African villages. This created rising tension and anger in people of Africa, specifically those in Tanzania. Some short-term effects of this was the revolt called for German government to create administrative reforms in their African colonies. The long-term effects consisted of treatment towards tribes being colonized being rethought. And although colonization was still a huge issue during the age of new imperialism, there was change in how they were treated. To summarize an event, in 1905, an African prophet claimed to have access to holy water, Maji Maji, which would grant the Tanzanians immunity from German weaponry and bullets. Covered in their holy water, the Tanzanians began to make a move against the Germans by burning their cotton crops and attacking them with spears and arrows. But the Germans, with more advanced weaponry, opened fire, shooting them down and proving that Maji Maji water to be ineffective. The Germans also burned Tanzanian crops, inducing a famine which aided the Germans in defeating them. 2 years later, the people of Tanzania were defeated and the revolt was over. In conclusion, the Tanzanian government recently brought up charges against Germany, asking for compensation for the brutal damage and destruction brought upon their country in the 19th century. Although the actual wars and rebellions happened a century ago, the wounds run deep, and the Tanzanians have still not recovered from the brutalities that their ancestors have faced. Thank you for your time. Our first primary source is a map of a continent containing France, Britain, Portugal, Germany, Belgium, Spain, Italy, and an independent section. What it's showing is all these places pull on Africa as a continent and who owns what part of Africa. Primary source number two is a political cartoon showing the pull that a lot of other places had on Africa, and it depicts the mad scramble of Africa, showing Belgium, France, Spain, Portugal, Italy, Germany, Great Britain, and Holland pulling on Africa as if they were all trying to get a piece. And you can see that the Prime Minister is representing France, King Leopold is representing Belgium, and others. Again, this is the mad scramble for Africa. Primary source number three contains the Tanzanians in a fight depicted from the Maji Maji revolt, and I mean, we know that they were not successful and the Germans overpowered them, but this is a picture, a snapshot of what that looks like. Primary source number four is an interview with an East African villager, and it shows how every village was allotted days on which to cultivate at. The Jumbi's plantation, one person came from each homestead. No woman went unless her husband ran away. After arriving there, you all suffered very greatly. Your back and your buttocks were whipped, and there was no rising up once you stooped to dig. The good thing about the Germans was that all people were the same before the whip. If a Jumbi or Akita made a mistake, he received a whip as well. There were people whose job was to clear the land and trees and undergrowth. Others tilled the land. Others would smooth the field and plant. Another group would do the weeding, and yet another the picking. And lastly, others carried the bales of cotton to the coast. For shipping, we did not know where it was taken. It wasn't the time of very many wild pigs in this country. If you left chasing the pigs to the woman, she could not manage well at night. There were just as many birds, and if you did not have children, it was necessary to help drive away the birds, while at the same time you cleared a piece of land for the second maize crop, because your wife would not have the time. During this period, colonial officials wanted to leave your home and go to work on the June plantation. That's why the people became furious and angry, and yet the Germans still wanted us to pay them tax. Primary source 5 is from a religious man who had an ecstatic encounter after waking from a trance. Primary source 5 explains how this man had a dream where no lion or leopard will eat men, and it also says we were all said